I left, and sooner after I left, things just got even worse. Got a call saying, his oxygen levels were continuing to decrease to the point where, they were performing CPR and trying to resuscitate. And he came back, slipped out again, didn't come back the second time. And I remember the days that followed, I was, I just kind of retreated from the world to the best that I could. But at the same time, I felt God telling me that, hey, like, I know you're grieving the loss of your friend and you need to do that, but you also need to lead, because there's a movement behind him that's now lacking a leader.
I spent the last 30 minutes debating on whether or not I should grab my guitar.
On this episode of Hustle Culture, we talk to Chima from D&Chi Music. I hope you get at least a fraction of the value that I got while talking to Chima by listening to this podcast. Enjoy. Welcome back to Hustle Culture. This is your host, Andres Tagliaferro, and today we have a really, really special guest, a homie of mine, a special friend, not just of mine, but of the podcast. Look, if you're a musician, if you are all about, just that life, you're going to enjoy this one. I really think you are. And you listen to the intro, you know what this is about. But look, we got a really special person right here next to me. His name is Chima. Chima, say what's up to the people.
Yo, how we doing? My name is Chima of D&Chi. Glad to be here.
Dude, I'm so glad you're here, bro. When I started this podcast, there was like a list of people that I was like, and I could show you. I literally have a list of like 15 people that I wanted. Yeah. And I was like, Chima was like on the top. So I'm glad you're finally here, bro.
For real, man. I've been watching, man. You've had incredible guests. It's been incredible content, so I'm glad to be on the show. I was excited when you asked me.
Let's go, dude. I'm so pumped, man. Look, this podcast, we're all about, entrepreneurship, the hustle, kind of topics of what's going on in life and in culture, really. And so I consider you as another friend who has been doing your own thing for a while. Yeah. And, I've just really been excited to get into your life and kind of what it's like to be a musician and an artist, specifically in Dallas, but in general, just the life behind that. And I'm excited to get into that and all that. But something that I wanted to talk about before we get into Chima and really the future of Chima. If anybody listened to this podcast lives in Dallas, you would have heard of the recent news of the passing of Darren. Yeah. He said, I'm Chima from D&Chi. That's D. Yeah. And, I had the pleasure of knowing him. Yeah. And I didn't know him too deep, but he was the best friend of one of my close friends. So yeah. I wanted to the first thing I wanted to talk about with you is, it's been a few weeks. If you could talk a little bit about, obviously, what that's been like for you and for the band and the people around. Yeah. Obviously it's horrible, devastating news, but how are you doing, man?
I think I'm doing the best that I can be, considering. Yeah. It's been an incredibly difficult, month and a half, almost 2 months now. I think that, when I heard the news, I was actually, I remember it was a Saturday morning. I got a call at like 5 a.m. D went to the hospital on a Friday because of COVID. Like he couldn't breathe and he was all right though. Like, and he seemed well. A lot of people talk about, his Facebook post at like late Friday night saying, felt cute, my delete. Like he was doing all right. but in the early hours of Saturday morning, things began to escalate in a bad way. And I got a call at 5 a.m. Saturday morning saying that, he was put on a ventilator, and that's when that was the first time that I was really scared. And all throughout that day, there was just this feeling of foreboding. There was this foreboding, like presence, just like, I was worried, and I felt like, I was praying. I felt like I was trying to convince God, like, hey, don't take him. We need him. I need him.
Yeah.
Brescia needs him. Like, there's too many people on this side who are not ready for this man to leave. And, it was COVID, so I couldn't go and visit him. Brescia couldn't even go and visit him.
Wow.
The best that she could do was to wait outside of the hospital. And so that night we had almost like a little vigil. There's probably about 10 of us out there in the parking lot of Methodist, able to be in the room via like FaceTime. So we could see him. He couldn't see us, obviously. I stayed there for a while, but I left when it got pretty late, just because, I didn't want to be exposed. There were people like Brescia who had been around him, and the whole thing with quarantining and COVID, and
right.
It gets really messy when things get really messy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, I was trying to be there and keep my distance and be there for Brescia and see Darren and like all these things. And, I left, and sooner after I left, things just got even worse. Got a call saying, his oxygen levels were continuing to decrease to the point where, they were performing CPR and trying to resuscitate. And he came back, slipped out again, didn't come back the second time. And I remember the days that followed, I was, I just kind of retreated from the world to the best that I could. But at the same time, I felt God telling me that, hey, like, I know you're grieving the loss of your friend and you need to do that, but you also need to lead, because there's a movement behind him that's now lacking a leader, and you're the next best thing when it comes to the music.
Right.
And so, I feel like everything that I've done since then has been with another level of tenacity and another level of passion and purpose, because it means more now. Right?
Yeah.
So anytime I reach out to a fan, anytime I post something, anytime I do anything, there's meaning behind it. It's not just, it was never just me, right? It was D and Chi.
Right.
But now that it is me, I'm not just doing this for me, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. I know I gave you a long long story on that, but
no, look, I want to hear, where you're at, and so don't feel like you're ever going too long. But to talk about that, I remember, I think it was, I don't remember when the post went out, but it was the post that Brescia did. And anybody who isn't aware of the story, Brescia is Dee's wife.
Yeah. And
man, I remember, feeling that as well. Like, it was like an instant, like, hard drive. I've been blessed enough to not feel loss. Like, all my family members are still alive. Like, I'm young and stuff. So, like, someone who I even wasn't that connected to, but I knew all of my friends were, it was like, it hit me personally. And I was like, wow. And of course, Dee's it forever will be like one of the most talented people I've ever met. Like, homie had the voice of a freaking angel, and he could play guitar. He could play guitar really well too.
Yeah.
Songwriter, insane. So, I wanted to address that, and I wanted to talk about that because, obviously, I wanted to dedicate this episode in remembrance of him.
Yeah.
And it was amazing that in the aftermath of everything, we got the Laughing Willow stage,
Right.
and by we I mean you guys got the Laughing Willow stage
Right.
dedicated to him and all that stuff. So it's been, although it's been sad and it's been a time of mourning and grieving, it's also been a time of
Celebrating a life, I'd say.
celebrating a life.
Yeah.
And being grateful for life, and
Right.
and being grateful for, I think anybody who was in this town and was like plugged into anything you guys were doing, were able to not just like celebrate life itself, but like be grateful for the people that you have around you. That's
Right.
something, the way it impacted me. I mean, I think of you, I think of other people that are in our circle, that it's like, man, like, be grateful for those people
Yeah.
that are here. Cause when that stuff like that happens, it's tough. So
Yeah.
I texted you, I told you, I was like, man, like exactly what you said. Like, I do believe that like this next season in your life, because as a spectator looking in at D&C and everything, you guys were killing it, doing live shows, I remember we went to, I think it was Deep Ellum Arts Festival. Y'all performed there.
Yeah.
And we got to see that. That was like my first time seeing the whole band in action. So it
Okay.
was cool.
Yeah.
Me and my wife were there. And, I remember seeing from the outside. And again, you guys were putting out music all the time. You guys were doing stuff. But it did feel like, like we're cool and we're doing this stuff. But there wasn't really like again, like you said, like that tenacity of like, okay, we're going like here. And for you, as you've been moving forward, I think it's awesome that you're taking that purpose and that, that pressure of like, I got to carry it on.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about that. What are some things that I know you guys have just put on an album, which was the last one that he was a part of.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the album and to like the future of D&T and where that's going.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I feel like, so I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. When I think about D&Chi, without D, it's crazy because obviously like shows are so much harder, right? Because I look to my left and he's not there. Like I feel like people don't understand like music is such an intimate thing. And and performing, I'd say, is even more vulnerable than that. So getting used to having someone to your left anytime you were singing and them not being there, it's almost like losing a significant other, like the pain of like losing a wife or a husband. I'm not saying me and D were married, but I'm saying like it was a deeper level of bond connection. So and everyone in the band feels that, you know what I'm saying? Because music is such an intimate thing. Anyone who's making music together, you feel that loss.
Right.
So I feel like for us, shows are so much harder. But I feel like we're also so much better because for all of us, it means so much more. Yeah. And so, I mean, I feel like we always had like a drive and we always had a tenacity, but I feel like it's intensified in the sense of, obviously for us, it has a bigger purpose. But then too, I honestly do believe D's spirit is still with us, right? So it's like we still have, there's still 6 of us,
right?
But the 5 that are on this side are working harder than ever. And so when I think about D&C in the future, I think of, well, one right now, and I've been telling everybody who's asked, because I think that's everyone's question right now. Is like, oh, what's gonna happen? What's D&C gonna be like? Exactly. What's gonna happen? And I've told everyone who's asked, it's like, look, right now, my focus is the album. D&C right now is And It Feels Like. And we are pushing that at 100%. All of our momentum is behind that. That's what it's been since, we took a little pause until the memorial, but the next day after memorial, it was all hands on deck for And It Feels Like. And I think that's what it's going to continue to be for the foreseeable future. Yeah. And like I said, I told you before the interview started, we have multiple music videos that we're working on. One that we're hoping to release before the end of the month. And the months to follow, we have singles off of And It Feels Like. Wow. Like kind of like post songs being released. Dang. we have interviews like this.
Yeah.
Where we could talk a little bit more about, and it feels like things like that. And so I'll say this. Is there a plan for the future? Yes. Am I ready to disclose it yet? No.
Okay, fair enough. No, yeah, I'm glad. And I think that you're handling it the right way. I mean, yeah, this project is very important and it's very good. Like, it's amazing. So, like, I would be pushing the mess out of it too.
Yeah, 4 years.
Dude.
We worked on this album for 4 years, man.
So talk about that a little bit. Like, because, I mean, as somebody who isn't really involved in music, like, I can probably ask, like, why did it take 4 years? Or, like, what's the reason behind that? So
Right. Yeah, so honestly, it's crazy because, okay, I feel like I'm giving you long answers to anything. Everything.
I want long answers.
I feel like that's good for you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. So when we first like had the idea, like, okay, we're gonna start a new album. 2016, we dropped our first full length D&C project, Corners.
Banger.
Great project.
Banger.
Thank you. Proud of that project as well.
Yeah.
By 2017, we're like, we need to start working on a new album. And D had written this song back in 2016 called Hope, which is track 3 on And It Feels Like. And, I remember hanging out. We were hanging out at D's loft. This isn't when he back when he lived at American Beauty Mill. I went to like the restroom or the kitchen or something. Come out and he's playing this instrumental. Well, the instrumental was the intro.
Wow.
And I was like, what was that? Like, that blew me away. And I was like, D, that needs to be on the album. And like, so we're starting to think about the album, and he's like, I want to name it Hope, right? And I'm like, that just sounds too Christian. That sounds like we're going straight CCM
right now.
And that's not what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I just feel like it needs to be Hope, or And It Feels Like Hope. And I'm like, bro, no, we can't do that. And I was like, what if we named it And It Feels Like? And we made the album about all the things that, like, all the different things that you feel in life. Like, and it feels like innocence, and it feels like home. It feels like the chase. It feels like hope. It feels like growing colder. Like, all these things that you feel in life. And we make this album about life.
Yeah.
And in the concept of life, there's as long as you're living, there's always hope. Right. And so like that was a mindset behind that. And so, as we started down the road of like making the album, it's crazy because that's what we experienced in making it. We experienced a lot of life. Like at first when we started putting the track list together and like practicing and like fine-tuning the songs as a band in 2017. By 2018, we had who had become a friend really come forward and sponsor the making of the whole project. Wow. I think this was back when we were on staff together. We actually celebrated it in one of our staff meetings.
Yeah.
Like the CEO of Poopery, Susie Patiz, came forward and gave us $15,000 to do this project.
Yeah, I remember.
And so that's when we kind of started working like, okay, let's get in the studio now. Let's like start like booking sessions and things of that nature. So we started working on it. Well, crazy enough, that year we got onto American Idol.
Dude.
Yeah. And
that was a big moment.
Right. And I was like, oh, well, we kind of need to put this album on pause.
Right. Okay, I see.
You know what I mean? This is happening.
Yeah.
So we put it on pause and we're able to go back to work on it in 2019. So all through 2019, we're working on it. And we were kind of close to being done. We were thinking, okay, we're going to be releasing this album early 2020. Well, then COVID happens.
Oh, bro.
Right. And COVID.
So many things, bro.
So many things happen. Yeah. Also in 2018, D's mother passed, which slowed. So like there was a lot of things that like kind of like there was a lot of life that happened that kind of like naturally slowed down the production of this album. And so by the time, the quarantine is over and like the pandemic slowed down and we're able to get back in the studios and get things going again, we probably finished the album early this year. Yeah. Which is what made it take so long. So, but yeah, it's crazy because we wanted this album to be about life and we experienced so much life in the making of it.
Yeah. Did that affect did that, like COVID and of course his mother's passing and all that, were you guys still in the songwriting process when all that was happening, and did that affect kind of like how the music turned out? Because like you said, it's a lot of life,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I think what's crazy is we pretty much had the song list back in 2017. Now by 2018, I think we had pretty much a whole song list together.
Oh, gotcha.
But what's crazy is songs that I wrote I wrote Home, right? I wrote Home in 2017. And Home had a completely different meaning then than it did by the time I recorded it in 2019.
Wow.
And then I recorded it in 2019, but when I listened to it now in 2021, completely different meaning now. You know what I'm saying? And that, so a lot of the songs on the album had a life like that. Like, you know, when D recorded Hope, his mother was still here. When he wrote Hope, his mom was still alive, right?
Wow.
By the time he had recorded it, you know, and you'll hear it if you listen closely in the spoken word, it talks about the death of D's mom, right? And then now that D is gone, it's kind of like a even more powerful message.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt like with this album, like we wanted it to be something that could be a companion with you in life. Like as you live life, this album will live life with you. And I feel like the songs that we wrote and the way that we wrote them, I mean, I don't think we did this intentionally at the time, but you know, even in the short time that it's been out, realize like seeing these songs grow outside of, you know, the production and the recording side, like just with the way that life twists and turns. So
that's beautiful. I love that how it changes, because you're right. Like when I was hearing the album, I knew that it had already been written like beforehand, so I was already kind of thinking that, like, because I think you talked about it a little bit at the memorial, but yeah, hearing like D say "Remember Me" like in one of the first songs, it was like, wow, like this has a completely different meaning now than I'm sure it did when he recorded it. And I mean, everything else, I mean, you know, I was a big fan of hearing Innocent. Like Innocent is my wife's favorite song of all time. Like it's like her favorite jam. The Afrobeat, the recorded studio version was cool, but she was like, the live version is so much cooler. So man, you already know I'm a fan, but yeah, bro, that's amazing. And I think that I didn't even know that it was like a kind of like a memoir to life, because like, you know, you said that, like, and it feels like, and I started looking at all this, so I was pulling it up, you know, and you're right, like it feels like a shadow, it feels like all these stuff, and I was like, wow, like that's so much, like I love podcasts because you get to talk about this stuff and share it. Like again, like I'm here like as a fan, like nice, okay, I'm writing stuff down too.
Yeah, man.
But that's awesome, man. So for I want to talk a little bit about still on the album. Could you give us like any like, I gotta ask, you know what I mean? If you can't be the host of a podcast, you're not asking, you know what I mean? You can say no, but like people could get mad at me if I don't ask. Okay. You know, like, is there any like, what music videos are you working on? Like, is there like one that you're gonna be like, this one?
Oh man. Tell you what.
You have to say all of just one.
Because it's you.
Yes.
I'll give you two of the music videos.
Oh shoot.
So for two of the tracks that we're gonna do music videos for, one of them is "And It Feels Like."
Ah,
yeah.
Okay. Yes.
And another one.
Yes.
Is "Brooklyn."
Nice. Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, Brooklyn. Was that the one did you guys already record that video? Yeah, okay. Don't talk about it. But okay, sorry. But all right, that's dope.
I will say, so the difficulty in this stage, right? You know, thank God he was able to be here to complete the recording project of "And It Feels Like." Obviously, in this stage, though,
right,
you know, these music videos, like, we're having to do them without him. So it's like, what is that going to look like? And so we had to get creative.
Yeah.
But I think that most of these videos, like, people will see, like, it's very intentional to, like, honor D's memory. And, like, D is very much going to be a part of, like, a lot of these music videos in a very, very central way.
Right. No, I'm glad. I'm glad this is how it's being handled, because again, like, that's the importance of this thing. It's like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than even the band. It's like, wow, like this is the last album that he got to be a part of. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that all that's being done. But man, so what do you I wanted to ask you this because, you know, and to give a little bit of backstory as we kind of move forward in, you know, Chima and the future of DNC and all that. First of all, I want to kind of talk about our relationship and how we know each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've known Chima for probably around like 4 to 5 years now.
Calvary, Dallas.
Calvary,
baby.
Dallas. So look, let me put y'all on game, all right? So Calvary, Dallas was the best church ever created.
Yes, it is.
And anybody who's a part of it could tell you that.
Yeah.
And it's just facts.
Yeah.
We were on staff together. You were a worship leader.
Yep.
I was a creative guy.
Yep.
And along with like 10 other people, core staff. And yeah, man, I mean, we did life together for like a long time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't, you know, like the church no longer exists.
Yeah.
But the community does. Like we all hang out. We all do stuff together. So one of the things I always looked at, you know, and of course, again, I knew you. You were my friend. I didn't know anybody else from the band, and I didn't know D that well. So for you, I always just picture like, you know, as a Christian, as a believer, as somebody who's a worship leader at a church, you know, who sings worship now at a church, who does all this stuff, and has a band that's like secular or not in the church world or CCM or worship.
Yeah.
I talked about this with Leo. He's like one of the other guys on the podcast. Mm-hmm. He was a church creative his whole life. And we talked a little bit about like breaking out of that and like creating the struggle of creating for other things outside of the church. Yeah. And for us, I mean, it was a struggle. As a creative, it's always been like, okay, well, is the church people who I know going to judge me for this? Or like, is all this? So for you, how have you handled like being able to, you know, lead worship and like do other songs? And it's not like you're out here doing anything crazy, but like, I don't know. I feel like that's a mental thing that we all go through. Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I think especially in the early days of DNC, I think the church was extremely limiting on what we did. You know, our core fan base was, and honestly still is, churchgoers. I mean, we have a lot of secular fans, but the majority is still to this day like parishioners. And so especially in the beginning, we were very much defined by our what the church thought of us. Very thankful for going to Calvary because I feel like while being there, I gained a better understanding of who God is and who he's made me to be. Right. Understanding that he's called me to this. Yeah. Understanding that he doesn't want me to be safe because wherever I go, I'm safe in him. Like, so it's like playing it safe. It's like, honestly, it's kind of a discredit to the creativity that he's placed in me, because the creativity that he's placed in me isn't like, it's not boxed in. Right. Like, yeah. So, and I think that this is a first project that, you know, with Innocence, right, with Growing Colder, right, you know, I branch out a little bit. Growing Colder is a very sexy song, right? It's unapologetically sexy. Yeah. And I'm not trying to water that down. For anybody. In Innocence, I call myself the devil.
Did you get any backlash from like old church friends and all that?
Surprisingly, no.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I think it's because honestly, like, people understand like who I am, and I think that what I believe and what I stand for even speaks in my music. Like, and I'll just tell you now, like, this is the only foreshadowing you're gonna get, but like I think I told you this before. I told you this before we actually began the podcast, but God, the day before our album release show on the 16th, I couldn't sleep because God was literally downloading to me our next project. Wow. So I already have I have the whole track list in my head. Dang. I know how I'm going to release it. Like, God gave it all to me.
That's amazing.
And you know, I think that as I mature as a person, and I am more clear of who I am, I feel fine in doing what I deem necessary to do, knowing that if I'm really moving in Christ, Christ will be portrayed. And those who think it's something else are not, like, they're the ones who are blinded. So just expect a little bit more adult, like a little bit more adult album for the next one.
Chima's an adult, man. Chima's grown, you know what I mean? Like, I expect it. I'm happy. I'm glad you're saying that. And yeah, bro, because like, you know, musicians, I told Adrian this, another artist who came on recently. I told him, I was like, you're a creative. Like, I know creative has like this box of like photography and like graphic design and stuff. But like, no, like there's like songwriters are creatives, like producers are creative, like artists are creative. So when you are a part of, you know, a religious organization, which, you know, we're not, like, we know what Jesus came and did. But when you're a part of anything that's like a group like that, it can mess with your head. Like, you know, and even if you think it's not, it's usually in the back of your head just looming, like, what's this person going to think? Or like, what's that person going to think? So I'm glad and I'm happy to hear that you are branching out and like, you don't really let that affect you. Cause I mean, you said it in the perfect way. Like, no, like God created me to be the way I am. Like, he didn't create me to be like, I don't know, like some Christian wannabe thing. Like, you know what I mean?
Create me to be a cookie cutter image of somebody else.
Exactly.
And I think that, you know, I'm not going to act like, you know, you just shake off that like thought of what are people going to think. Cause that's
impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah. But you just, you push through it, you know, because I mean, speaking as a Christian, your flesh is always going to be worried about acceptance. You're always going to struggle to some degree with like self-confidence and self-worth, but none of those are Jesus. Like, you know what I'm saying? So why feed those at all? Like, move with confidence, because confidence comes from Christ. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially for those who have been like, you know, redeemed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like like my confidence to move and like do things that, like, I remember when I first brought Innocence to the band. You know, like I said in the beginning, and when I first brought it to the band, we were still very much like, oh yeah, like we're a secular band, but we're a Christian. Y'all had
had a Christian sound.
Yeah. And so like I was like, hey, this is a song I feel like it needs to be out, and people were like, the devil.
I rebuke thee.
I remember when Mason's mom first heard Innocent, she said, the devil? Honey, you getting out of this band.
Bro. That's hilarious.
But you know, like, so yeah, I mean, I just think you have to push past that. And the reality of it is too, is like, if you look at Innocence, it's like, what am I actually talking about?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a Christian message.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't look like I have a, well, I won't,
don't say everything, Chima.
but there's intentionality in all of it, man.
That's awesome, man. I'm happy to see that. Yeah, because I hate when you know, especially believers, like, feel like they can't be that, and so I'm happy. But man, how has you know, with the rollout of the album and all that, how has the band kind of been reacting to it? Because I know you've been kind of like the forefront, the leader, and you've been taking charge and all that. But how? Because, you know, I got the pleasure. I wasn't able to make it to the album release, but I was able to make it to the concert at Laughing Willow. Yeah, and I got the pleasure of seeing, you know, the band members. Like, I think it was your first time performing without him, right? Yeah, and the, you know, the way they carried themselves, like the way that you could feel it in the music, the way it was being played, that it was like with a different intentionality. Yeah, with this rollout and with everything happening, have you seen a shift in the band?
I'm not gonna cry. Yes, I have seen a shift. I think that so obviously, you know, before it was me and D, and we were the leaders of the band, and now, you know, that falls to me. Mm-hmm. And so one of my fears actually, in the beginning, it's like, man, how am I gonna lead these guys on my own? Right. And I think that one thing that was kind of like a relief was to see the band fall under my leadership. And I don't necessarily even credit that to me, because I have my shortcomings. I mean, if we want to be real, D was a machine. Like, you could hand D anything and he would like make it happen.
Wow.
And so I feel like in a lot of ways, like, I was the idea man. Like, we both had ideas, but I had the majority of the ideas, and D made things happen.
I get
He
it.
was just making things happen. So when he was gone, it's like, how are we going to make things happen now? Right? Because, I mean, I can step up in a lot of ways, but I'm not Darren Eubank. You know, I'm Chima, and I have to be Chima. I can't be somebody else. And so it was a big fear to step into the shoes of someone who was better at me on the administration side. And so like I said, it was a relief that, you know, the guys were able to fall under my leadership, but I credit that more to D, honestly.
Really?
Because I think that for them, they realized that when it comes to Darren Eubank and his music, there's nobody better to lead it forward. And there's no one better who could, like, be held responsible for what was going to happen to his music moving forward. So
Right.
I feel like, you know, and obviously, like, I say that I don't take anything away from Brisha. I don't take anything away from his other best friend, Cameron Ray.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. But I'm just saying, like, as far as D and Chi, like, it needed to be me. It has to be me. And so for them to follow my leadership like that, that was a huge blessing. And I think that, like I said earlier, the things have changed because there's a new level of purpose behind every note played. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a game anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so
that's amazing. Yeah. So not only has the band recognized you as the, you know, leader, but also I would imagine that with that purpose comes, like, you know, stepping up, like, you know, I've seen the shift from that's why I wanted to ask you, but like you said, every note is just played a little differently now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to watch. And I'm excited, you know, to see where this goes from here.
Yeah.
'Cause, dude, I mean, one of the things that a lot of people struggle with in life is, like, it takes a long time for people to find their purpose, and a long time for people to see, like, people, like, I knew I was a creative. Yeah. I knew I was talented in different things. I didn't know how much I would be passionate about this podcast, or how passionate and purpose filled I would feel sharing other people's stories. I've recently started coming into that. Yeah. But I feel like this was, you know, his passing was that, and I told you this, it was that defining moment, not just for you, especially for you, but not just for you, for the whole band, that just adds, like, again, another gravity to, and you know, I want to ask you this. It's pressure. It can be tough, but I would imagine it's also like a fulfilling thing. Is that the case? Fulfilling in the sense of, like, wow, like, I know this is the thing now, and, like, I know it's gonna be the, like.
Well, yeah, definitely clarity, I think, would be the word I would use, because
there you go. Yeah.
I think, you know, moving into 2021, I was dual-minded. Mm-hmm. There were things that I wanted to accomplish with my music. There were things that D wanted to accomplish with his music, and there were things that we wanted to accomplish with D and Chi.
Gotcha.
And you know, realizing that this is the most important thing. Everything else, I mean, it's like it's like blinders. It's like, this is it. Like, focus. Yeah, I'd say that for sure. There's definitely a lot more pressure, and I think the pressure has enabled me to grow up a lot more. You know, I've always been someone who's about my business. I've always been a hard worker and all those kind of things. But I think that I feel like if I wasn't a man before, I'm a man now, right? Because it's like the responsibilities that fall on me the gravity of them are like I understand them now just a little bit better. And so like it's not a game. And I just feel like that's what it is for all of us. I feel like, you know, Cortland has Biddy Records. He has his own record label. I've seen him step up his game.
Wow.
You know, Mason wears a variety of hats, and I've seen him step up in all those. Like, I've seen us as a band step up and understand this. Like, this is not a game. You know, not at all. So
that's amazing, man. And man, that's just great. I'm glad that, you know, I wanted to do this podcast and like really feel the mindset going forward, because again, anybody who isn't, you know, as close as maybe I am or other people in our circles are, who are just fans who just listen to the music or just follow on Instagram, I'm sure as they're watching this, they're probably thinking all these things like you said, like what's next, or is it D&G, is it whatever. So I'm glad you were able to give some clarity to that, because, you know, it's not just to be clear, it's not over, and y'all are going. If anything, it's even better.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they ask, especially, man, you know, you deal with death is messy, and you deal with insensitive people, and there were people at the funeral who were like, "So what are you gonna do next?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Jeez.
Like, oh my God. Or like I had people start trying to have conversations with me about before D even passed, like, okay, so if he passed, what are you gonna do? I'm like, want him to get, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And I think a lot of people have the mindset that if D passes, then like D&G is going to disband, and like Chima's gonna do this over here, and that's the farthest thing from the truth. So me and D have been making music for 8 years, right? And in that 8 years, I can't tell you how many times there are opportunities for me to do solo projects, or like for D to do like things. But I feel like, and it was unspoken, but I really truly feel like God had ordained us to be music partners for life. And even in the times when I was like, I want to focus on the things that I want to do, like I knew that I would always be working with D.
Yeah.
Always, to some capacity. And so now that D isn't on this side, but he's on the other side, I truly believe that we still work together. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I would never tear apart the thing that we poured so much of our life and sweat and tears and like everything. I would never just like, I would never abandon that. And so anything that people see from here on out, they need to understand that it's a continuation of what we built back in 2013 on the streets of Bishop Arts. Like, and it will always be building on that same foundation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. I'm glad. And, you know, that leads me to this. That was a great segue. Gosh. That leads me to this. Like, I wanted to learn, because, again, I met you in the process. Right. I'm not going to act like I knew you from, like, day one. Like, a day one guy. Like, I'm not. But, you know, I saw you guys performing at Laughing Willow and all these other things, but tell your story on how, you know, you even met D and how you guys even got into music. Like,
yeah, for sure. I've told the story many times, but me and D have known each other since 6th grade. We played Pee Wee football together.
Nice.
I was running back, the running back,
let's go.
y'all. And you know, D was offensive line, like, and he was a beast. And we were cool, like we were teammates, like on a football team. Of course, we were cool from day one.
Right.
Played football together all through junior high and into the first years of high school. D, you know, ended up playing baseball varsity. He was a designated hitter. And you know, I pursued music. I got saved at 14, and you know, I was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And God was like, I want you to do music.
Wow.
So I got in a choir in high school. I got into worship team at school, worship team at church, and like anything music I can get my hands on. So like around that time, you know, we were focused on different things. Like there wasn't really things that were keeping us like in the same niches, but we knew each other. Like, we were cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like the very first time I ever saw D sing was senior year of high school. And I, by my senior year, I was the designated national anthem singer. So anytime there was a game,
you were it.
I was the guy, right?
Yeah,
so I just got used to being on the field singing the game, singing the national anthem. So it's senior night, it's during baseball season. Again, D is the designated hitter.
Right. So
I'm down there. I'm in the dugout waiting to be handed the mic so I can go out to the pitcher's mound and sing the national anthem.
Mm.
While I'm sitting there waiting for the mic, I see D walking to the pitcher's mound with a microphone. I was like,
shoot.
What the? I'm like, wait a minute. Like, that boy didn't even sing.
He just
like,
took your mic?
And that's my microphone. He comes out. He sings the national anthem. He kills it. And I'm like, but that's my thing.
Bro, get back in the batter's box.
Yeah, like, you're the designated hitter. I'm the national anthem singer. Like, why are you stealing my thing? I was so upset.
And then you tried hitting.
No. and I bumped. No, I didn't. No, I would never. But yeah, like so that was the first time I ever knew that D could even sing. Well,
did he crush it or what?
He crushed it. Yeah. And I felt immediate rivalry, right? Because it's like you just stole my shine. So all through college, like, when D gets to college, he starts putting down his baseball bat and picking up a guitar. Teaches himself guitar. I continue to pursue music like I have been, and our paths just kind of cross. They kind of start crossing, and then they kind of continue to keep crossing to the point where it's like, well, do you want to just like, we were playing at a little restaurant in Red Oak, and it's like, well, do you want to just combine our sets because it'll be easier? He was like, sure. And then we did that like every single weekend, all throughout the summer of 2012. Like,
wow.
This is my junior year of college, going into my senior year. Like, we're just every single weekend we're there playing music together. And the next, like, so when the school year starts, I go back to my studies. But after I graduated, D was like, hey, do you want to take what we were doing in Red Oak and take it to the streets of Bishop Arts?
Jeez.
Because there's a shop owner out there who owns the Laughing Willow, Melody and Mark Gann, and they're like, you would make a lot of money just doing that on the streets.
Wow. So
we did start doing that on the streets, and we did start making money, and we actually began to build a following. We got our first Twitter followers, our first Instagram followers, our first Facebook followers, all out there in the streets of Bishop Arts. And like from there, like people began asking us to play everything: birthdays, weddings, awesome. Engagements, like all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And each thing we played just got us more and more fans. We started doing showcases around Dallas. That's where we met our manager. Like, it just continued to build. You know, just really organically just built.
That's crazy.
And really until it is what it is today. Like from playing the streets of Bishop to beginning to play venues in Deep Ellum, to playing bigger venues in Deep Ellum, to going on the road, like, and playing. We've played over 30 states, like probably like over 200 shows on the road, being on American Idol, to being on The Voice, to, just everything. Like it all just very organically happened. Now, granted, this is hustle culture. Like we hustled.
Yeah.
We did hustle.
I want to get into that.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, cause that's like, when I think of hustle, bro, I think of like, I think one of the stereotypical, like, the guy busking in the corner of the street, like just playing, like, and just getting, what was that like? Because you said you were making money. Like, did you actually like get a lot of money from that? Or was it like, did it kind of get you by? I'm curious.
We were making money, but we were making money like that.
Right. Like,
yeah. We were like, we would go out on a Friday night, play for like 3 hours and probably make like $150, right? $75 each. That's for two guys who just graduated college, like, that like those first adult years where like $100 is a lot of money.
Yeah, bro.
Like, I was like, oh, this is not bad.
Yeah.
And this was a side gig.
Right.
So I mean, no, there was definitely a lot of hustle involved in it. And then, in the beginning, a lot of the shows we played were for free, right? And I'll tell this to any artist listening: when you start off, in fact, honestly, I say this for most creatives.
Yeah.
Like, you got to earn you gotta earn your feet. Like you gotta
Facts.
earn your base pay.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't come into the game like, yeah, it's gonna be $1,000 to book me. It's like, well, I don't even know who you are, so I'm not gonna book you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you have to build that name. And so I'd say like our first 2 years, we did a lot of free shows. First 3 years, actually, we did a lot of free shows. You know, we're doing a lot of like groundwork stuff. You know,
Building
now
that foundation.
yeah, by the time, you know, by last year, by the time you want to book D&G, it's like it's gonna cost you something. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to come with your wallet. You know what I'm saying? But by that point, we've been doing it for that was at 7-year mark. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Now, granted, like we probably started charging it like I said, 3 years in, we were pretty much not doing any more free shows.
Got you. Yeah.
But that was hustle for sure. Like a lot of hustle, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of no's, a lot of yeses that were actually no's, a lot of like I remember in our first EP, right? This is I wrote the song in 2013 that the EP released in 2014. One of the lyrics I said, a man approached me and said he could help with music. All he did was lie, steal, and then abuse it. It's never a straight thing. You know what I'm saying?
Bars. That's like, real though.
But that's part of the hustle. It's like being able to take a no and like roll with that punch and keep moving. You know what I'm saying?
That's real, dude. And too, I mean, the mindset of like when you're starting, you're not doing it for free. Like you're doing it for the followers.
Right.
Like you're doing it to get known. Like
Facts.
it's still a transaction. It's just not monetary.
Right.
And that's totally cool. I totally get that. I mean,
yeah.
As a creative, like we all go through like those first couple of years where you're like, here's my whatever. Like you can't even afford business cards. You're
right.
Like, here's my Instagram. Like, I got my photos here,
bro. And when we first started, so what we would do, because D was playing guitar, right? I'd have a stack of business cards with me.
Oh,
and
shoot.
Like, so we would like even back then we were only walking away with $75 each. We would reinvest it in business cards, into studio time, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So when people would walk by, anybody who was like feeling it, like, oh yeah, I like it. Anyone who dropped a tip, anything like that, boom, give them a business card. Like go follow us. Go do, like if you need something, it's us. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta push it. You got even to this day, like I have a really good relationship with the owners of Laughing Willow. Obviously, like they're one of the people who started our career.
They're amazing. Yeah,
incredible people. And if you need any like ladies apparel, go to Laughing Willow.
Ladies apparel, baby stuff,
just cool knick-knacky things. Like go to Laughing Willow, or if you want to hear great music, because I have obviously that stage is the Big D stage, and so they give me pretty exclusive license to use that stage whenever I want.
That's awesome.
So on a Friday night, if I'm not doing anything, I'll go out there and I'll play. And now when I go out there and play, it's more like $300-$400, right?
Wow, yeah.
And just because I've perfected my craft, right, and like there's a name that's somewhat known,
of course,
especially in the Bishop Arts area.
Yeah.
But even now, if I'm out there, I've got a QR code you can scan to pull up my information. I multiple times a show I'm plugging like, hey, go follow, because it's like, man, you never stop hustling. Like,
right. Dang, that's cool. So that's a cool, I want to talk even like the nitty gritty, because I love that you were saying like you had like a stack of business cards ready. Right. What are some other tips you can give up and coming artists who are like, you know, just like playing free shows, or like some other things that worked for you guys that you were doing to grow your audience? Because I'm sure they want to hear this and listen to that.
Yeah, I think I would say like some very important things. One, you need to find a way to legitimize yourself, because in the beginning, hopefully you believe in yourself enough, right?
Right.
Like hopefully you believe in yourself enough to go and do what you got to do, but nobody else believes in you yet.
Right.
Like even just speaking even truthfully, like most likely your mama don't believe in you like that. You know what I'm saying? Like she's like, oh, it's cute.
That's a cute music thing.
Exactly. But she don't believe in you yet.
No.
Nobody believes in you yet.
Yeah.
So you have to prove, you know what I'm saying? You gotta earn earn that.
Right.
And so you need to do things to legitimize yourself. And I think that if you playing shows, it's a great way to legitimize yourself. Putting out music, it's a great way to legitimize yourself. But really, like it's about, you need to understand that you as an artist are a brand, but more importantly, because I think we've glamorized that word, especially when it comes to creatives, you as an artist are a business. So you need to appear to anybody who's coming looking for you, you need to appear like a business.
Yeah.
Like I need to be able to access your information, and your information needs to be readily available.
Yeah.
I need to be able to see good product with your name on it, and I need to be able to expect good services if I request your services. So putting out music, and not just putting out music just for the sake of put out good music. Right.
Yeah.
Play shows, but don't just play shows like that are crappy, and like find ways to play legitimate shows. There are music entities here in Dallas that give artists a chance. Like if you're talented, they're gonna give you a chance. I'm actually one of them. I do a lot to help up and coming artists. But if you've got the talent and you've got the drive, there are entities that are willing to help you, like get shows and get you content that's gonna be good. Like people like Cinder Block, people like Tacos and Tunes, So Far Dallas, So Far DFW, just to name a few that would like give you an opportunity to better yourself.
Right.
When you've got content that looks good, you've got music that sounds good, and you've got a stage presence that's captivating, you will begin to build credibility and like legitimize yourself in the eyes of your community.
That's fire.
Yeah.
So doing like taking those not even baby steps, but taking those steps to like for people to see you, like you're more than just like the guy who can play guitar. Mm-hmm. You're a musician. You take this stuff seriously. That's great, man. I think one of the things that I had talked to Adrian about was that hustle of, you know, going out and actually doing it. Because there's a lot of kids, like I remember, and I want to ask you this, but to give a little backstory, it's like a lot of people think that they're going to like network or grow like an actual following of fans and people by just like posting stuff on Instagram and like hashtag strategy this and like all this stuff. And it's like, engage here. It's like, but like you said, like, no, you need to go out and actually be with communities and be with people. But most importantly is like give that ask. Like you said, like there's probably, listen to this, is probably a bunch of artists who are like, just haven't asked you or haven't reached out to you and be like, you can help me. How can you help me? Because that's like a thing that we think is bad or is wrong. But the truth is like this set, like I asked a friend of mine, can I use this office? And he said, yeah, bro, of course. I want to help. Like he literally told me, I stood on the shoulders of others. Yeah. Like, so I want to do that. But you don't know if there's people around you that can do that for you if you don't go out and ask for that. Where you like, for you, what are some things that you did or like that worked for you when you started coming up when it comes to like finding those people? Because to the person that's like at their computer like producing, or to the person that's like trying to hone in the like guitar skills, they're probably like, man, but where are these people? I don't understand. Like you're saying this and that and it sounds cool, but like actually where?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, and honestly, I would recommend this for any artist who thinks that their show it's feasible to do. I would recommend busking. Because one, you're going to start to make money right away. And it's going to be money that you can fund into yourself. And I'm going to tell you right now, like, it's good to ask, but it's also better when you have some money with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were able to record. I remember our first EP, we were able to record the whole EP for like $400.
Wow.
Which is incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
But we still needed $400.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So, like, on one end, you're able to start making money to fund your dream. But then two, you're honing your skills, right?
Right.
Like on the streets, like you're gonna gain vocal strength, right? You're gonna be able to get those 10,000 hours to make your voice sound better, to make your playing sound better.
That's real.
Make it stage ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the people you'll meet, because the people who are vibing with you will stop and talk with you.
Wow.
Like, so you will make fans out there.
Facts.
And then you will also make business connections. Like just last week, and I'd say that too, like never shy away from talking to people when you play a show, whether it's on the street or at a venue. Like people want to come and talk to you and you never know. Like just last week I was playing a show at Atlas in Bishop Park, and after I got off the stage, a couple were like, hey, we're getting married next year, but can we book you?
Dang.
That's another $2,000 in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So it's like never being like never shy away. And then I think too, like, just keep your head in the swivel. I'd say like if you're trying to gain followers on social media, like you're not gonna gain that many. You gain followers in the real world,
Right.
from my experience.
I agree. No,
like,
that's facts.
I think other different people build it different ways, but for me, like the almost 6,000 followers that DNC has were all made in person.
Right.
Like, and again, asking like, hey, follow us. Oh, okay. I just enjoyed this hour-long show. I didn't even think. Yeah, you're right. I will go follow.
That is an easy way to support you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you do need to ask for that follow.
Right.
But yeah, I feel like social media is better for finding out. Like, it's not so much good for getting you followers, but it's good to finding out what other people are doing. So like if you're,
that's interesting.
like search the hashtag local music. Search the hashtag like Dallas venues.
No,
like search hashtags that you keep putting on yours. Like, why don't you go see what other people are doing? Because everybody who's using the hashtag are people who are trying to see this stuff discovered, and you're gonna find out there's people who are doing things like, oh, that'd be dope if I could do that, or that'd be a dope person I could partner with. Like, they're in kind of the same lane that I'm in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, social media is made for connecting with other people, so use it to connect with the people that you're looking for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think people are selfish on there. Like, oh,
Right.
give me.
Right.
But like another thing, like when you ask, like you said, come with that money. Like,
Right.
well, on social media, I mean, Gary Vee talks about this all the time. He's like, you got to give, then ask.
Yeah.
So like, for example, like, there's people like you, but we have a friendship, but other people who came onto the podcast, because I'm like, I can give you 2 hours of content that you can share with your following, and like, I'll send you clips, and I'm giving, and then it's to ask, but will you come, and like, will you be a part of it?
Right.
Because I understand, like, yeah, they're bringing me attention. You know what I mean? Like, you're bringing this platform something too. Yeah. But yeah, that's very important. And man, I think another part that's really important is like, okay, you're busking, and like, it's a really good question. You're busking, you're making money, you're making a little bit of money. What are the best first initial investments, like, as a musician?
I mean, I feel like the first, okay, I'm going to give you like top 5. And the cool thing is most of it is free or really cheap.
Yeah.
So you want to be a musician. Okay. First, get social media, right? That's free. And I would say stick to the ones that you're actually going to like.
You like using.
Yeah, that you're actually gonna like. Like, get an Instagram. If you're a TikTok person, get a TikTok. If you're a Facebook person, get a Facebook. If you're, whatever, get your social media. Second thing I'd say is, get a website. Website is
clutch.
So important.
Talk about that, because I feel like nobody talks about that, because Instagram is like, oh, I can get a free website, but no, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
A website legitimizes you. Instagram is like, I mean, especially if you ain't got followers on Instagram, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you don't have followers on Instagram, then when you tell people, oh yeah, connect with me on Instagram solely, like, that's kid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you have a website, it's like, oh, that's when you think this is a business.
Yeah.
Because like, you're going to be able to, like, it's going to be, obviously these days, Instagram in a lot of ways is a one-stop shop, but your website is going to be a much more catered to one-stop shop.
And another thing with the website, because we just made one for Hustle Culture, is you get to see who the real people are, because you'll see that conversion, like, who are the people actually like going off of Instagram to like see my thing. So when you get those views or whatever, like, I use Squarespace, and this isn't like sponsored or whatever, but it will be one day, hopefully. But with that, like, I literally, like, when I drop an episode, I'll get like because now I just do everything through my website. Yeah. So here's a little tip, and I'm sure this, with a podcast, it's very similar to like music, because it's Spotify and all that. So with this, what I used to do, or what I did when I first started it, because I didn't, have the whatever monthly to pay for a website, I literally just got like a link tree or whatever for my bio, and then I put like the singular YouTube link, Spotify link, Apple Podcast link, and I was like, okay, that's that. Cool. You can't really track a lot when you have separate stuff, but when you have a website as a musician, I'm sure this will help. I'll get, when I drop an episode and I'll put the link, it's just my website, and then you go to my website and you go to episodes, and then you see, and then you can choose what you want to use. Just that alone, it tells me like you have a traffic spike on your website, and it'll tell you like this percentage is listening on Spotify, and you don't have to ask anymore. It's like so beyond the legitimacy, it's also like a really good tool to have because it lets you understand your audience a little better.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah. So I'd say
Instagram,
get your social media right, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Get your website, put out something. So
this is a toughie right here.
And I'm a big fan of the quality. In the very, very beginning, you just gotta have something. Because if I'm me, right, and you come to me, you're like, oh yeah, I want help, whatever. It's like, okay, what do you sound like? And I can't find it easily, I lose interest. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be like, oh, this is a EP, right? Or this is just like, this is sound. I feel like people don't use SoundCloud like they used to, but like this is a SoundCloud. Give me something.
Yeah.
Post some music. That way I can listen to it and judge. Like, okay, you're someone with a sound I want to rock with, or like, oh, this isn't for me. Like, I'm a pass. I need that, right?
Yeah.
So post some sort of music. So what I said, social media, website, music out. Find a show to play.
Oh, okay.
Find a show to play.
Yeah.
And again, if we're talking about like starter pack, like musician, right? Doesn't matter what the show is. It could be. I remember it kind of worked out for us because it's a show that we got our manager, who was our manager until 2019, and he only left us to work for Universal Records.
Okay, so
but we played a showcase at House of Blues in the Foundation Room. Sounds glamorous. It was not.
It was not.
It was
no.
not.
Oh,
it was
shit.
It was kind of a scam.
Wow.
But it was a show.
Yeah.
And we were able to broadcast on our social media and our website, hey, we've got a show at House of Blues, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, image is important, like it is. So it doesn't matter what the show is, like just find a show and play it and tell people that you're playing it. We had like 100, not 100. We had like 30 people show up just for us, and it was like a cumulative like show type thing.
Yeah.
But like play a show.
Okay, quick question. What's the shadiest show you've ever played?
Oh God.
And why? What made it so weird? This is the good stuff right here.
Let's see. Is this shit? I'm gonna say this one.
You don't gotta be super specific, so we don't hurt no feelings. But yeah unless you
to
want to hurt feelings, it's cool too.
I'm trying to think of. I won't go too specific, but so I don't want to say this. We were given an opportunity.
Beautiful.
With a record label.
Oh.
Okay. And as part of the deal with the record label, they wanted us to play a showcase with all the other people who were going to be on this project.
Right. Okay. And
you know, it was shady. The show was shady. I think you came to that show. Or like Sylvia, there was a Calvary Dallas crew at this show. I'm not gonna say what show it is, but do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, cool. Good.
For the sake of the story, I have no clue.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we did the show, and like it was at the, which is not a shady place. Like it's a cool venue.
Yeah.
But the talent, like some of the people that we were playing with, I was just like, if you signing this person, like this doesn't seem that legitimate. There were sound issues. They started like 2 hours late. There was all kinds of things going on, and like it just wasn't what we were advertised it would be. Oof. So that was a pretty shady show.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well, good to know. Okay, cool. So shows. I was just curious.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So when I post this, I'll edit that part out. Because I think some of the people who were involved in that project still follow us. But anyways, yeah. So play a show. Let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the next thing?
There's one more.
Okay, so
social media, website,
post music,
shows.
Play a show.
That's a great list.
Yeah, just right there.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you do those 4 things, just continue to build on those 4 platforms as an artist. So you posted your social media, grow in your social media, right? You made a website, make your website better, cleaner, those kind of things. You've posted music. Obviously, the first one is probably going to be some like rough draft link on SoundCloud. let's up that game to where it's like getting placed on playlists on Spotify, right? You know, you're playing shows, maybe a showcase with 30 other artists at House of Blues. Let's get you, you know, playing shows on the main stage of House of Blues, like
Right.
and things of that nature. And then I guess the last thing would be self-promote.
Okay.
And don't be afraid of it.
Right.
Because again, like you don't get followers on social media, and like I said, in the app, really, you get it in real life. You know, you don't get people to. Most of the people you get to come to your shows, it's really not going to be. Oh, I put a post out on social media. Like, you know, you have to put legwork in, pass out flyers, text everybody, and don't just text them, but be like, hey, no, are you actually coming?
Yeah,
like, I need
yeah.
to know, like, because I want a body count, like,
Right.
ahead of time, like, that kind of stuff. Like, always be promoting. Always be promoting.
It's that thing. It's the turning yourself from just a musician or just a guitar player to a legitimate business.
A business, yeah.
Yeah. That's so important.
Like, I've seen, with this album, I've seen more growth already than anything we've done previously, and that's because I really think that came down to me taking this more seriously. Like since the release of the album July 8th, I've submitted to multiple playlists a week.
Wow.
I've submitted to multiple festivals a week, and I'm contacting people constantly like, hey, have you heard this album? That kind of stuff. And this is the first time that we've actually been on a playlist that had, you know, 10,000 followers. And, you know, we're in talks to get put on another one that has about over 30,000 followers.
Jeez. That's awesome.
And you know, we had radio play on this one. We've had like a lot of things happen, and it's because it's like, well, you know, we need to push it. Cause I mean, the truth of it is D&G is incredibly talented. Like I honestly believe we have the best musician, one of the best musicians in every category.
Amazing.
I feel like Courtland is one of the best keys player in Dallas. I feel like Mason's one of the best drummers in Dallas. Austin Jett, one of the best, like electric. Mark Wayne Kennedy, one of the best bass players. Chima, one of the best vocals.
You know what I mean? You gotta plug. Self-promotion, baby. That's facts. No, y'all are all super talented, for real.
Thank you. But it doesn't mean anything if people aren't hearing about it. So it's like you have to believe that. Like, if you really believe that, why not tell people?
That's real. Dude, and like you said, like you submitted to like a bunch of playlists. Like it wasn't like you're just doing your thing and then you run into this exec and he's like, here's a record deal. Right. And now you're 100,000 there.
Especially not in these days.
Bro.
And I won't say that. It doesn't happen sometimes, yes. But that's like getting struck by lightning. And it's like a lot of these people you see make it, we're knocking on doors endlessly, right? And it's not, you don't make it. I saw a quote, my manager posted this from he's the A&R rep for her. He's like, you don't make it these days because you're talented. And he manages her, who is incredibly
super
talented.
Yeah.
She's incredible. Like,
yeah.
She, like, there's
Top
gimmick
dog.
people out there. She's not a gimmick person. Like, she's cold. But you don't make it these days because you're talented. Like, that has very little to do with it. You got to believe in yourself and you got to work like you are, excuse my language, with that nigga.
Dude. I was about to repeat that with you, and then I was like, I can't do that word. I was going to say, I thought you were going to say the F word or something. I was like, fuck yeah. But no, all right. But that's facts, though. No, that's really real. Like, talent only takes you so far.
Yeah.
And Adrian, we talked about it a little bit because, you know, he's like, Adrian Streisel, if you don't know him, go check him out. He's a rapper. Insane. Yeah. But, you know, especially in hip hop, like there's this like, there's first of all oversaturation nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm sure in every genre, right? Where it's like, because it's a lot easier now to put stuff online and to do all this stuff. So like we even, and I want to ask you about that too, because I think it's a big culture thing, like playlisting and the way that like consumption works nowadays. Like there's two ways to look at it. One is like, okay, cool, you have more opportunity, right? Because obviously back in the day, like obviously you had to like do shows and you have to hope that it was kind of like sports. Like you had to hope a scout was there and you had a good game that day. And like now you kind of have more control because again, you can submit for playlists and stuff. But also it's kind of like a limitation too, because it's like, well, like you said, it's not just up to the talent. You gotta like really put in the groundwork. So for you as a musician, as someone who's coming up, like what's been the struggle behind that? like, you know, with playlisting and stuff, or maybe just break down even what you've done recently to get on these couple playlists.
Yeah, I mean, when God called me to music back in 2009, I just thought that I had to be a good singer, you know? So like, that's where I put all my focus.
Yeah.
And before I realized that I was having to make business moves, started to make business moves at 18, 19, not even really thinking about them as business moves, but as the years progress, I've realized more and more, it's like, okay, to be a like successful musician, you have to be a businessman, and you have to think of it like a business. Like I said earlier, like if you, and again, this is from a different AR. I also follow a plethora of AR, like,
that's good,
because I want to know what they know, right. But it said, like, truthfully speaking, like the days of being in the game because you're talented are pretty much over. You have to push, and if you just want to be able to make your art and enjoy playing your shows, go the coffee shop route, because the game ain't for you no more.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, how it affects me, it's like, I think it kind of sucks, but at the same time, like, if you really believe in this, like, it's worth like learning. It's worth being business minded. It's worth all those things.
Right.
So, but to answer your question, like with like how it's affected, all that, and like some of the things that I've done, I mean, I think there's definitely a major oversaturation, and like, I think it kind of like, it does limits what you're able to do, because it's like before there was tiers, right? It's like, okay, I'm a local artist, or I'm a national artist, or I'm a superstar.
Yeah.
There was really like, there was very few ticks in between those things. Well, now it's just a hodgepodge, and it's like, I was reading a statistic. I believe it's like, I think it's upwards of like 2,000 songs get added to Spotify a day.
Jeez.
A day.
Dang, dude.
So,
oh my God.
So it's like, there's just no chance of like, if you just add a song to Spotify and you're like,
nah,
then you are one of those 2,000 songs, and you are definitely not even in the top 100 that get noticed.
Right.
Even playlisting, like, I mean, just being honest with you, you know, yesterday our song Brooklyn got added to a playlist with over 10,000 followers. The chances of all 10,000 of those followers listening to Brooklyn it's pretty much impossible. It's not gonna happen. Right. In fact, most of the playlists that I even follow, I usually make it like 20 songs down and I'm done. Right. It just gives you a better chance. But it's like, it's just that mentality of like, this is what it is. So
you gotta play the game that you have.
Yeah. It's like, you can either be overwhelmed by it all and quit, or it's like, well, if you believe in yourself and you believe in your purpose, all those things that stand against you aren't going to hinder you. They're not going to stop you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, you can push through that. Again, like you said, like,
push through it.
Bro, that's so real. Because I get, that is intimidating. Like, dang, 2,000 songs a day, 60,000 songs a month. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
But again, like, so for me, I mean, to tie into my world, like with the podcast, like the podcast space is like so saturated now. Like, you know, the days of Joe Rogan where he was like the only one, and like he was the first, like, no, everybody has a podcast now. I mean, we have mutual friends who like started a podcast, did 10 episodes, and it's done. It's like, so it's like, even just to find the specific podcast, you gotta like I remember when I started Hustle Culture, there was like 4 different podcasts that were like the Hustle Culture, or like Hustle Culture Blank, or like all this other stuff. So it's like, how do I finesse the system to try to get to the top? Like when someone searches Hustle Culture or Hustle or Culture, how do I finesse to be the first one? Now, if you like look up Hustle Culture on Spotify, at least, because that's what I use, it's the first thing that comes up. It's like mine. And it's, I think another thing too, it's like with this stuff, putting out music and all this, putting out podcasts, putting out whatever creative, is just like doing it over and over and over and over. Because I mean, that's just how algorithms work. Like if Spotify, if Instagram, if YouTube sees that you're consistently adding things that they can share, they will share it more. If you're just a person who like puts out a song in like 2017 and doesn't release a song till like 2024, like what does Spotify have to push? Nothing. So it's like, that's another side too. But I wanted to ask you this, like, as someone who, you know, enjoys music, I'm a fanboy of everything music. So like, you know, I know a lot of great musicians where the music that they play live doesn't translate on the Spotify or on the SoundCloud or on the whatever. And it's like, man, you're so talented here, but because of your production or whatever you're working with, I don't know, quality of the like when I was asking about investments, that was kind of one of the things I was leaning towards. It's like, I feel like a lot of artists, and as a video guy, I get this. It's like, I'll get a guy who like has one song out and he's like, bro, I want to do a music video for this thing. I want it to be awesome. And like, he's like, I want to spend $100. I'm like, you could use that $100 and make that song way better. Yeah. Or like that's like a wiser investment in my head than like a music video. But for you, because you guys are one of those bands that I'm like, your quality is there. Like, I remember when Innocence came out, like the recorded studio version, I was like, holy smokes, like the Afrobeat, like the things I've seen the levels, right? As you've grown.
Thank you.
What have you like let these people know, like, is production matter? Because I feel like too many people are like too purist, like, oh no, I'm a rapper and I'm just gonna rap on this like YouTube type beat, like Drake type beat, and I'm just gonna put it out.
Right. Gosh. I would say this too. There's a difference between a recording artist and a performing artist. And if you want to be an artist that's taken seriously on both, you need to develop both.
I see.
So you need to spend time in the studio. You need to know your voice. Like, I'm a vocalist, so I'm gonna hone in on that.
Yeah.
You need to know what your voice sounds like in the studio, and you need to get better at recording in the studio. And like, that is an art form in and of itself.
So it's different for you when you go in a studio as to when you perform?
Absolutely. You have to know the difference. So I think that a lot of times someone can even have great production and you know, A, B, C, D, but they don't know how to be in the studio. So their voice comes across terrible, or like their guitar playing comes across like it's two different beasts. For sure.
Okay, I see. That's crazy.
And then the cool thing though is too, like, if you can become a great recording artist, you don't need to pay for like top production. Like, I remember with our song Sold Out, right? So we originally recorded Sold Out at Modern Electric. Jason Burt is like the homie. Like, he's a part of Medicine Man Revival, and he does his own thing, electro funk. He's dope. Nice. Dope. And he's my connect to a lot of people in Dallas. Cool guy. And he was working on Sold Out. Modern Electric is one of the top studios in Dallas, where it's one of the spots where Leon Bridges records.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the producers there work with him. So we started Sold Out there. Just wasn't the right fit. The production wasn't right for us. We found the right fit in a small studio in Waxahachie. Perfect fit for it. And then obviously, like, we did work with a few different people. We got drums from a guy in Fort Worth. He's really good at getting that 80s sound into music. That's so, like, you'll feel that feel in the track. But like, the majority of the recording we did in a small studio in Waxahachie, that was like significantly less than Modern Electric. And so I would say, like, right production is incredibly important, but it's incorrect to think that, okay, wherever I'm spending the most money is where I need to be. Like, that's absolutely not true. And I think that too, like, if you can truly master the art of being a recording artist, you can record anywhere. Like, Growing Colder, vocals for that, I did it in a closet.
Wow.
Like, closet at my boy's house.
Dang.
Like, and the production was done there too. And it's the most popular song on the album. So
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you hear that, or you hear like your album and you expect like, oh, they must be like, like working with Pharrell or something. Like, it got me so crazy. But it's like, nah, and that's crazy.
And we did, like, it's cool because the album, like, man, we did like I said, we did Sold Out originally at Modern Electric, one of the best studios in Dallas. Right. We did a lot of the project at that studio
in
Waxahachie. We did some at DBU, which they have a state-of-the-art studio on campus there. We did some.
Oh, DBU's fire. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, we did some at my boy's place. We did Growing Colder there. I think that's the only one we did there. And then we also did Brooklyn up in Brooklyn. But get this, in an apartment.
Wow.
Like someone's room in an apartment. She basically made like a curtain of blankets around me, and I sang it right there.
Jeez.
And that was a song that made a playlist yesterday. And the guy who added it to the playlist, he did a Twitch stream, and he was like, "Man, the vocals on this sound incredible."
That's so cool.
And it's in a cloud. It's not a blanket,
bro. That's so fire, bro.
Yeah. So the production, it definitely matters, but you can get great production done for cheap.
Dang.
Yeah. Especially once you legitimize yourself, because the more you legitimize yourself, the more talented people believe in you.
Yeah.
Talented people believe in you. They want to see you succeed. It's like, hey man, like I usually charge this much, I'll do it for this much. Or
That's
hey,
facts.
I'll do it for free. Like,
yeah.
I just want to be a part of this project. You
right.
know what I'm saying? Like,
that's real.
It helps you move the thing along.
Dude, that's crazy. That's awesome. And you putting me on game, because like I didn't even know that. Like I always assume like, well, this or that. But you're right. I know producers who have the whole getup, who have the whole everything, and they're just meh. Or it's like, because there is the talent, there's a skill to that.
Oh yeah.
That's wild. Because even here, like we don't have any sound paneling here or anything. I have to learn how to like, mix and how to filter stuff, right? So it's not like the AC, you can hear it, right?
Yeah.
It's blaring right now, but you don't hear that on Spotify, and it's like, but
and I've seen a couple of episodes, like it sounds great and it looks great. Like you've got a quality product here, and you're not paying anything to do this, right? And yeah, like, and it's working great. You just gotta work with what you got.
Exactly, bro. There's this NF lyric. He goes like, I've been. It's just, I don't even know the lyric. I don't know why I brought it up, but he's like literally said, I've been working with the cards I've been dealt. Or no, he said I threw away the cards and I just did my own thing. Like, bro, like whatever it is, like the truth is, and this is what I tell people, because I like having conversations about culture and stuff, and like even like because I do think that it's important to talk about things that you just don't like, because you're adding to the conversation at a mass. Like, so when we're talking about playlisting and how it can limit you, or like, I think that having this conversation is important, because then as society starts to have those conversations, you can change it to what you want it to be.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're just trying to find a place to produce, or like you feel like you don't have the connects or all that, like, bro, work with what you got. Like,
you gotta make it happen,
dude. Like, I remember when I, even with video stuff, like I bought a $500 like he sees it's over there. So it's like a little Sony camera, right? And it was $500. It shot 4K. I sold my other camera, which was more expensive, but it didn't shoot 4K, and I really wanted to go into video. And so I sold that one because it was straight photography. I bought the Sony for super cheap from like Facebook Marketplace.
Right.
I invested in like a really good lens.
Yeah.
But that was it. I had that, and that's it. And I'm like, all right. And I started believing myself, promoting myself, and working on the other things. That's the other thing. Like, like you might, like this microphone, for example, it sounds great or whatever, costs $99. Yeah. It's really not expensive in the realm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know what? There's this, when you were talking about one of the best investments, putting out music, however it is, SoundCloud, whatever. A really good case study, I think, as an artist, you'd be interested to go look at this, and you know it, but I'm talking to the artist listening, is Brian, Loki Breezy.
Right.
He literally, so he doesn't have a Spotify.
Yeah.
He doesn't have an album out. He doesn't have anything. But this guy gave him a really great deal to do video and live recordings of like 9 songs.
Right.
9 covers. And so now he has this resume of like good sounding stuff with cool visuals that he can show, because he does he's more of the performing side. Right. So he can show like the owner of this restaurant, check this out. Yeah. At the end of the day, that's really all you're trying to do, is like you're trying to build this thing that people can see and believe in. Right. So. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. And I guess I should say that too. Like when I say like putting out music, it doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, here's a Spotify track, or here's a SoundCloud, like whatever, or here's like, I don't know, if people still on Reverb Nation, like whatever. Shoot. Like here's what but like put out some content. Yeah. Content is king in today's world. It is. So put out some content that people can go and reference. Yeah. And like exactly what you said. Okay, I see this and I believe in it, and I want to do X, Y, and Z for it. You know what I mean? Adrian Stresser was talking about how like there's a lot of, because he's a producer and an artist, and he
Yeah.
mixes and masters for a lot of other artists. So
Yeah.
that's kind of his lane. And he was talking about how, like, I asked him, I was like, what would you tell the artist, like, trying to make it today? And he goes, well, I mean, this isn't what I do because I don't believe in it, but it's what works. And he was like, you got to make 2 TikToks a day. You got to like do this. You got to post on Instagram. You got to do all this stuff. And he was like, you know, like it or not, that's like a good strategy. Like TikTok is like a crazy, like people replay sounds and like it's a like super organic way to reach and stuff. But it's like, yeah, just find a way, like you said, like find a way to finesse and to like just game the system. And like it will, like, it's more obtainable than it used to be, but it also takes more work to get that.
Right.
And like submitting for playlists, like stuff like that. Like, I just think that's huge, man. So I'm glad we talked about that. Yeah. But for you, bro, like, you know, as you know, and we'll wrap this up here in a little bit because we're an hour and 30 in. Let's go. That's a good podcast. But for you and for DNC and for all, you know, the future of this band, like I've seen the levels. Like I remember Corners, like you said, like very, you know, Christian-y, like the sound is amazing, but it sounded very this. Now with and it feels like it has a different sound to it a little bit, and it stays true to like, but it's like sounds cleaner. There's like different stuff as you're developing the sound and as you're growing as an artist. And I know you're focused and, you know, your primary goal right now, so I don't want to build any hype for anything in the future yet, and it feels like it's the priority right now. Go stream that mug right now.
Go stream it.
But what do you see moving forward, DNC kind of filling the lane of? Like, what do you see for the future? And you don't have to tell any details or any nitty gritty, but like as the leader of DNC, like what's the vision? What's the goal?
I believe that we have. I believe that we don't just have a story to tell. I believe that we have stories to tell.
Mm.
And so my goal is to tell those stories and let those stories minister to people.
Wow.
I still believe in our old mantra to shine light in circles where Jesus isn't. And
that's beautiful.
And I feel like for us, like I think that as we mature and evolve, it doesn't look exactly like it's going to be in the circles where Jesus isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that some of the songs that we have for the future, you're going to continue to see like music that probably isn't going to play in the background of a church, like in the auditorium while they're waiting for service to start. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be more likely to play it at a club at 2 a.m. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's life in it. And I'm actually excited for us to get to a place where we're being played alongside like all the rest of the music that you hear, because there's going to be a different feel. There's going to be life in this music and people are going to feel that and they're going to feel life. I feel like that's what it's always been. That's what it's always going to continue to be. And so I would say we shine light in the circles of Jesus isn't, but to put it in even better terms, we let love invade. That's what DNC does. So just expect to continue to see that.
Dude, that's amazing. And this is why I wanted to have you on, because I want to touch a little bit on that mantra, let love invade. You know, it's been huge recently with everything, because here at Hustle Culture, like one of the things I want to build, I say it like if you go to the Instagram and you click on one of the highlights, it's me ranting about what do I want this to be. And I said, I want this to be a community of people I would actually mess with. People who are actually cool, who where the end of the day is to just love other people and to be kind and like tell stories and all this stuff. And, you know, obviously DNC, let love invade, like that's y'all's thing. Like it's all about the love. It's all about the feelings. It's all about tapping into something that like isn't like you can't find regularly. Like that's one of the beautiful things about music that I've always loved, even as a creator, as a video guy. Like there's like music moves people. Music it's the only one of the only things besides like drugs that like, bro, like can make you feel like legit, like just a chord.
Yeah.
Instant different vibe.
Yeah.
So, bro, I just think that, you know, I wanted to have you on because you're again, one of the goals here. I believe that in Dallas, in the city specifically, there's a lot of people who have a voice, who like, or who have like the platform or have like the thing, and they're not really using that in the way it should be. Like, I feel like Dallas is very shallow.
Yeah.
It can't, like, when you're like, I've had so many friends tell me like, or even when people talk about Texas, like I've seen the memes, like, like Fort Worth is cool, Austin or Houston is dope, Dallas is a bunch of obnoxious people who don't.
All right.
And it's like, man, I want to have people like you and other people who are just letting love invade, who are actually care and have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being one of those voices that, like, again, I believe you will grow and you will get there. Like, I have 100% belief, and I'm just here to help, man. And like, to the person listening who's like, how can I support D&T? How can I help D&T? How can they?
Yeah. Right now, I would say there's two things. Well, there's three things you can do. Follow on social media and watch the story unfold. I'd say go listen to And It Feels Like, because we wrote it for you. Legitimately, like, my goal with that project is for it to be a companion in your life, so it can grieve with you when you're grieving. It can rejoice with you when you're happy. It can be a little naughty with you when you feel like doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can,
you know what I mean?
It's got all. I want it to be a companion for your life, and I mean, this is the first thing that I've ever released where I can't stop listening to it.
Wow.
And I want that for you. So go stream the album. That'd be number 2, and then 3. Go tell 5 of your friends to go stream the album.
Jeez, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Stream the album.
Stream the album.
You, person watching. Wait till the episode's over and give me all the watch time. But when you're done with this episode, go stream the album.
Yes, go stream the album.
Man, that's awesome. Man, well, Chima, it's been amazing having you a part of Hustle Culture.
It's been a blast, bro. I appreciate you inviting me out.
Dude, I appreciate you. And I'm going to tell you what I tell a lot of other people. Like, you're doing me a favor. Like, you're coming and you're deciding to sit here and talk. And, you know, I'm not clouded up. I don't got like all this stuff that I can give you. Yeah. So you coming down here and talking to me and like just sharing all of this means a lot to me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, like, I'm not just letting anybody sit in that seat. You know what I mean? Like, I believe in you. Like, and I believe that you really do have a really cool story to tell, and you'll continue to develop and tell it in cooler, more creative ways. And man, I pray that just God continues to like just do crazy things with you. And man, like, I don't know, just sitting here and talking to you about it, because I feel like this is the first time, or it's not the first time, but in depth, where I've been able to see and hear the shifting in your head and like how you're thinking about this. Because when everything went down, the first thing I thought was like, man, how's Chima gonna take this? Like, Lord, please let this not be, because it could have gone way different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like this, but that just goes to show the beauty and like the mindset of D and how he was as a leader and how he was. Again, I didn't have the pleasure of being really involved with him, but like I can tell, like, if y'all feel like there's a purpose behind this because of everything, like that says a lot about him. Yeah, it does. And now it's gonna say a lot about you moving forward. And bro, this is hustle time. This is grind mode. Let's go. And I'm excited to see you win, bro.
Let's go, man. I appreciate it, man. Seriously, sincerely. And if I could just give you a little bit of word of encouragement, man, for someone who's been watching from afar, you've got a great thing that you're building here, man. And I believe in you. Even before hustle culture, bro, like you've always been a hustler, like you, in the sense of like you've always worked hard. The things that you put your hand to, like they've always grown. And so now that you're doing this for yourself, I believe that we're going to see it grow. And I only ask that, when you are a syndicated podcast, that you invite your boy back on to talk with you for a little bit.
Hell yeah, bro. And honestly, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate it. We've been homies forever, so there's always a mutual like respect. So for you, I mean, I would love to do this again.
Yeah.
A little bit further down.
Sure.
When the album really, 6 months to a year, where like people have absorbed it, you've kind of gone through this.
Yeah.
And even, because you're still in the process of grieving, you're still in the process of everyone is. But in the future, I would like to have you back on and see how it's like macro affected everything. Because I've asked you all these questions, but there's only so much you could say because like it's just happened. Like things are just now going. So yeah, for sure, bro. You're one of those people I know you're gonna be on like 4 or 5 times. Like it's just a given. All right, bro. Well, this has been again Stream D and Chi, and it feels like follow him on Instagram. It's gonna be all on the screen, and everything's gonna be in the description. So just click a link. It's gonna be simple. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. Y'all have a good one.
That's been another episode of Hustle Culture. Y'all keep killing it.